Today, I'm going to show you how you can make a Telegram news bot. It's going to take in hundreds of news sources, filter them by whatever criteria you want, and curate a nice little list for you. And maybe make a little money along the way. I'm Dan Murphy. This is Talk Tech to Me. Let's get into it. So first off, let's start with why. There is a lot of news sources out there. You're talking hundreds from all across the world in different countries and that as well. And I only look at a few websites, to be honest, when it comes to tech news. So I'm missing out on a lot of good information. But I also don't want to spend the time to go to all these news sources and try to find the articles that are applicable to me and what I want. So this is where I decided to create a Telegram news bot. What it's going to do is it's going to search hundreds of news sources. It's going to look for keywords and phrases in these stories then as well and give me a curated list and essentially filter out all the junk and deliver it directly to a channel for me. I'm going to try and make a bit of money as well because I'm going to start off with a free version and then I'm going to start off with a premium version then as well, which is going to have increased functionality, more news stories per day then as well. Because I want all this delivered to my mobile phone. I don't want to have to go onto my computer. I don't want to have to go anywhere else. I want to do it for the comfort of wherever I am. So let's get into it. So first things first, I want to start with my data sources, where I'm actually going to get my information from. So I fired up Perplexity and I went into deep research mode and I gave it this prompt. I need a list of RSS feeds from a wide range of technology news sites. This list should be extensive and cover news from all over the world. So yeah, we're looking at RSS feeds as well. Nearly every news site on the minute already pushes an RSS feed or has sort of the provision for it then as well. So these can be scraped easily. This is literally the point of it then as well. So there's no point reinventing the wheel. And I let Perplexity do all the work for me. So yeah, here it is. Major news publishers. Find me a list of them. Artificial intelligence and machine learning then as well. Perfect. Cybersecurity and security. Excellent. And then open source and development. Perfect. Major tech companies and engineering blogs. Yeah, I like some of them. I'm not too concerned with some, but you know, it's good to have a full extensive list. Also, when you're building this list, you're going to have maybe similar news stories from competing news vendors then as well. So I'll need to do kind of a filtering service then as well, so I don't publish the same story twice. European tech news, mobile and smartphone technology, hardware and computing, absolutely. Enterprise and business technology, science and research, and then additional niche ones then as well. And I do like the look of some of these then as well. Some of these ones are pretty cool, like tech in Asia. Never would have even known that existed, but you know, you're starting to get a new perspective on something. And then it gives you a bit of information on essentially how to use RSS feeds. I'm not too concerned with that. I'm going to look at it in a bit. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to do a bit of market research because there's no point me building this if something already exists. So I asked for it to produce me a list of Telegram channels that publish this type of news. And yeah, it thought and got me 15 sources and started giving me some of these. TechCrunch, I'm already very aware of TechCrunch and what it does. It's extremely US focused then as well. So, you know, if I'm building something, I'm not competing with them. I am competing with them just in their market, but I offer a wider range of news than what they do. And that really was the common theme with a lot of these. They do great things, but they do great things in just their area. I want to be something a bit more wide-ranging and encompass more technology aspects in more places around the world than just what these channels do. So yeah, and then there were specific ones for AI, machine learning, cybersecurity, and that was kind of the running theme that, yes, there is some really good stuff, but it's all very niche and it's all very tailored. I want to build something that the average person can use. So the average person that's interested in technology, but they're not a cybersecurity specialist. So there's no point them ever looking at these kind of things, but there might be interesting stories in them that we could use. So with my market research done and with my sources of information done, I was ready to start. The next thing that I got to do was I got to create me a .md file of all my RSS feeds that I'm going to use as my source for all my data scraping at a later stage then as well. On to the next stage, building it. So the next thing I did then, as I brought in the big guns, I went straight to anti-gravity, which has been my coder of choice for the last couple of months, and I gave it this prompt. Build a fully autonomous AI agent that curates, summarizes, and broadcasts niche technology news to a Telegram channel. Monetization, freemium model with an integrated premium model tier then for exclusive content. And platform-wise, I wanted to run 24/7. I want to use Stripe then for the payment system then as well. I wanted to use Python, and from a technology stack point of view, RSS feeds. So it's going to have to parse the RSS feeds. I want it to be lightweight. I want this thing to be running lean and mean. Initially, I wanted it to run on GCP on a GCP server. I'll get to that in a little bit. And then Flask for your webhooks then and click it in. So that was the initial prompt I gave it. And off it went. And it built me, essentially, it's version 1, if you want to call it that. And it was interesting. It asked me for a lot of variables to begin with. So anytime you create a Telegram channel, you need to get that Telegram chat ID. You're also going to need to create a bot then as well. But it asked me for all that up front, and I didn't know what those things were. So I had to go off and essentially educate myself on Telegram. Now, it did create me an AI agent, but it actually decided to use Gemini 3 to do a 3-bullet point summary every time. And I thought initially this was absolutely fantastic. So essentially it was searching through all these RSS feeds, getting relevant information based on keywords, and then it was importing that article into Gemini and getting Gemini to summarize that article then as well. So it created an agent.py, it created a scraper.py then as well, and its key logic was fetch RSS, filter out duplications or deduplications if there already was an existing one there as well. So it stored a little .text file for that. And then it would script the article and send it to AI for summarization then as well, which was good and got me up and running initially. But there was issues straight away then as well. I don't know if anybody here has ever used their Gemini API key on the free tier, but you very quickly hit limits. Now, not only do you hit quota limits, but you hit rate limits then as well. And so if you're scraping, in my case, hundreds of RSS feeds, and even if you find 10 or 15 of them and you try to send all 15 of them to Gemini in one go, you're going to get limited straight away. And there was absolutely no logic in the system to sort of deal with that. And they were rate limits because you're sending such a high volume in such a short period of time. So I had to rethink my strategy then a little bit. Now, the next thing I had to do was I had to rethink my strategy on what my scraper was doing and how it was going to interact. So I went back, I took the logic back a few steps and basically says that go off, script these websites, do the initial analysis and find me the articles that it wants to take forward then as well. Only once it's found me the articles that it wants to take forward, check against duplications, check, make sure they're correct against my keywords, and only take those articles into Gemini for the API for the summarization then as well. And that worked. So it massively reduced down the amount of information I was sending to the API at that stage. It also meant that it was only sort of sending sort of 3 or 4 articles at a time, and the rate limits didn't really bother, and the quota limits weren't being hit anymore. But it was only text that was doing at this stage. So I want to do more rich media. So I went back a few more prompts later. I actually got to update what I was sending then as well. So it's taking in the links for the article, summarization of the article, and the main image of the article then as well, which is typically embedded in sort of just after the H1 for any kind of article that you're sort of reading then as well. And then, yeah, it started pulling through absolute gold for me. So yeah, this is my initial bot here. And you can see that sort of for each one of these stories, you're getting a sort of a TLDR, a link, and then sort of the image for the article then as well. And it's bringing this in sort of rich text format. And yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. So at this stage, I had my initial bot up and running. I'm just going to remove that one. And I called Talk Tech to me. I got 3 subscribers because I haven't really released this publicly yet, but I wanted to have some people working on it and understanding what it is. So I got a few friends, added them to the channel, and anytime news stories were coming through, they were giving me direct feedback. Some of the articles were coming through and being extremely long, or else they were doing this kind of thing where they're putting spaces in between each of them. And so yeah, we put a bit of logic then as well. We're essentially limiting the length of an article. So this is more what we're looking for: a quick summarization, a link to it, and read article, linking you directly to that if you do come across something that you want. We didn't want to have the entirety of the article listed in Telegram because you're never going to scroll through an entire article like that on Telegram. You're going to actually want to click into it and go to the website that it came from. Once I had this set up, I wanted to get my bot set up so that I could transfer people from my free version to my premium version then as well. So let's talk bots. Now, before we could get to the point where we can work with a premium channel, we have to get the payment system in place. And for this, I'm using Stripe. Now, Stripe has come a long way in recent years then as well. It's actually really starting to cater for this kind of thing. So if you want to do something like this, you have to essentially create a product. So open up your product catalog, and then I was create product, and then you want to create what's known as a subscription. Now, inside the subscription, you sort of essentially tell it what kind of payment system you want to take, whether it be Apple Pay, Google Pay, Visa, MasterCard, those kind of things. The reoccurrence of the billing, for me, I'm going to do it every month. And then you want to set sort of the value of it then as well. So I'm starting with £4 British or $5 American. So I'm trying to cater for both markets then as well. And again, yeah, it's just linking it back directly to your account. It does ask you then for the API key. So the API key from your Stripe account needs to go into your code then as well. And I'm going to say this now, and I'm going to be very clear about it. Never, under any circumstances, commit API keys to GitHub. I use GitHub for everything. And even if your repository is set to private and you think that nobody can access it and everything you put in there is secret and known to yourself, it's not. There's been some famously big leaks in the past where API keys have been linked from seemingly private GitHub repositories. So even though I work off anti-gravity and I commit everything to GitHub, anytime I commit to GitHub, I am deleting API keys out of it then as well and only adding them to finished code whenever you deploy them to production. It's an extra step, but it's going to save you from what could be essentially thousands in lost revenue if your API keys ever get exposed or they get access to your account, or if a threat actor or somebody nefarious gets hold of your API keys, it could be game over for you then as well. So be very careful when you're using Stripe and you're using especially code editors and GitHub that you're essentially keeping your API keys and your secrets and those kind of certificates and all that, keeping them private and properly private. So once I had my product set up in Stripe, it was time to essentially set up the bot then to accept payments between one Telegram channel to the next. Onto that. Okay, so now we have our payment system set up and in place. What we're going to do now essentially is link all three of these together. So we have our initial bot, which is then going to give you a link to a redirect, which is going to take you to the payment system. And then once you get through the payment system through Stripe, it's going to redirect you then to the premium channel and add you to that channel then as well. So currently that channel is private and invite only. So it's a way to essentially automate bringing people into that channel without me as an administrator having to do anything. To do that, you need to create a bot in Telegram. And it's very simple. Go to Telegram, open up, I kid you not, the bot folder. And it's simple. There's going to be a /start menu, and then it's going to ask you to create a bot. You're going to give it a name. You're going to give it a list of permissions. In this case, it needs permissions to do pretty much everything except add people as admin. And then you need to add that bot into both your channels then as well, the source channel and the destination channel then as well. And once you have that in place, and once you have your Stripe redirect, it should work something like this. So in the free version, I have essentially pinned a chat link. And in that link, it's going to say, go here if you want to upgrade to the premium version. And then when you click into that, it'll take you to the bot. And in the bot here, you can see up on those a bunch of times when it's testing it, it's going to click and you're going to go to the payment. It's going to open up a small little web app, which takes you directly to the Stripe payment account then as well. So I've already done this in BAS, and so I've subscribed to it. And once you do that, it's going to redirect you then to the main channel. Where are we? Yes, it's going to redirect you and put you into the Talk Tech to Me premium channel then as well. And it's going to add you that chat as a full member then as well. So yeah, I have to do absolutely nothing here. Once this is in place, I have to do absolutely nothing. It's fully automated from start to finish then as well. Also, if you go back to the bot at any stage, you can cancel your payment and it will remove you from that channel then as well. So it's automating the adding and removing all people depending on their sort of status of their subscription then as well. They can go back to that chat, that bot at any time and do /information or /status, and it will actually tell them whether their payment subscription is up to date and they're still part of the channel or not. And if they fail payments, it's going to pull them out of it then as well. Now, at this stage, everything was working really well, but it's working really well on my computer. And my computer's not a server, it's just a typical desktop, and I turn it off at night. And this thing needs to run 24/7 because it needs to essentially every sort of 6 hours script through the latest news stories and publish them then as well. And so hosting this on my computer wasn't an option. I did look to GCP and putting it up there, and it looked like a lot of work, to be honest, for something so lightweight. Like this thing is running a couple hundred lines of Python and it's running a couple times a day, really low compute, So I decided to actually run it locally on a Raspberry Pi. Why? Well, it's cheap. I already have a Raspberry Pi sitting here doing practically nothing. Whenever you look at the electricity cost on Pi, I based in Northern Ireland, it's going to cost you maybe £1 or £2 a month to actually run your Pi. If I get one subscriber, I'm making profit. So I decided to port everything that's built here onto a Raspberry Pi. But I didn't want to start from scratch because I had never initially intended to put this thing on a Pi. So essentially I asked Anti-Gravity, report this entire project to run on a Raspberry Pi, and it done it amazingly quickly. Because it's Python and because Pythons are so prevalent on Pi, it was fairly easy. So what it did is essentially it removed the packages I don't need, added in packages that I do need, and essentially gave me a list of files to copy over then as well. So I have a Raspberry Pi 4, the 64-bit version then as well. It's running Pi OS, and I installed the GUI then as well because my command line is, I don't do it often enough to be an expert in it then as well. So yeah, I I'm logged into it here. So if you ever go to connect.raspberry.pi.com, install a bit of software, you can essentially remotely access your Pi wherever you go. I took the micro SD card and I put it into one of these handy little readers, and you can essentially just plug it into your computer, plug in your SD card, and I copied the files over. I stuck them in firmware and then transfer folder, and then TGNewsBot. So then, I can essentially copy and paste files onto my USB pen, put them back into the Raspberry Pi, and bring them in here. From there, fairly simple, I copied over the files and stuck them into its user folder. Now, I don't know why, but when I set up this Raspberry Pi, I called the user, which sounds stupid. And it is kind of stupid because it actually makes little sense. So my home directory is home user Pi, just to really confuse things. So one of the first things that I encountered whenever I actually went to run this is that nothing would run because it was anticipating the home directory to be home/Pi or home/Jan, or basically anything except user as being a username as well. That's my bad. I don't know why I did that. It's one of those things when you're setting up a device, you give it a silly name and it comes back to haunt you. But once I got my bot in place then as well, there was a couple of steps involved here. I had to do a whole bunch of updates and a whole bunch of upgrades then as well. And then there was quite a few Python installs along the way then as well. I also had to go VNEV, which is essentially a virtual environment, which it sets up so that it can run Python applications on your Raspberry Pi then as well. And once I had all that set up, essentially I had to go through and check everything. So there was essentially a series of systemctl commands to check against the NewsBot services. There was 3 different services. There's an interface service, there's a server service, and I forget what the third service is. But each one of these needs to be running, and they need to be running all the time for this to actually work. And you can see, services are running correctly there. .service. So you can sort of check these at any time and make sure that they're active and running and that it's actually bringing through exactly what you want. And you can see there, some are skipped, some are processed, a daily limit hit on that as well. I did put more logic in for whenever limits are hit, it's going to wait and retry them then as well so that you're essentially never hitting your limits. But once I had this all up and running, I put my Raspberry Pi in a corner of a room plugged in. And the idea is I'll just forget about it. I'll just let it run 24/7. It'll cost me £1 or £2 a month, but it is my server for running this on. I tested it extensively. It's up and running now at the minute. And on to the conclusion. So there you have it. The TGNewsBot isn't just a script. It's a micro SaaS running on hardware that can fit in the palm of your hand. It proves that with the right AI prompts, a bit of Python, you can automate an entire micro business. If you want to see the code, the exact prompts I used for this build, it's all in the description, as well as the Telegram channel itself, if you ever want to join it and sort of, see the latest tech news then as well. I really enjoyed this project. It took me maybe 2 days casually on and off to get it up and running, but I learned so much. I learned the inner workings of Telegram. I learned a bit more about Raspberry Pi. I pushed anti-gravity to its absolute limit with some of this stuff. I also figured out how to integrate Stripe with lots more things then as well. So it was a really good learning opportunity for me, and I hope you enjoyed it. I've been Dan Murphy. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.